The night the walls whispered my name, I realized the house didn't just want to haunt me. It wanted to finish what it started 20 years ago. I've spent most of my life running from one memory, one night, one house. I thought if I ignored it long enough, the past would bury itself. But houses don't forget. Not the living ones, not the hungry ones. When my father died 6 months ago, he left me the property I swore I would never return to. The house where my mother died when I was 7. The house that whispered to me long after her funeral. The house that knew my name in a voice that wasn't hers. I should have sold the place without stepping foot inside. I should have burned it to the ground and let the ashes choke on their own memories. But trauma has a strange pull, a gravity of unfinished things. And so, on a cold, rain-soaked evening, I drove back to the house I had spent years trying to forget. The second I stepped out of the car, the air changed, heavier, thicker, almost aware. The house looked exactly as I remembered it. A hulking silhouette with broken windows like blind eyes, and a porch that sagged like a mouth waiting to swallow me whole. I stood there for a long moment, keys trembling in my hand. Lightning carved the sky open, revealing the structure in quick, violent flashes. For a moment, I swear the house seemed to lean toward me, but maybe that was just memory. Maybe. I told myself I was only there to gather documents, photographs, anything important my father left behind. Just one night, I thought. In and out. The lie tasted thin, even in my own mind. When I opened the front door, the familiar smell hit me. Mold, dust, and something colder, deeper, like the scent of a grave that hasn't been opened yet. The floorboards groaned beneath my steps. Spiderwebs brushed my shoulders. The air felt stale, as though the house had been holding its breath for years, and finally exhaled the second I returned. I told myself it was just an old building settling, but then it whispered. You came back, barely audible, soft enough that someone else would have blamed the wind, but not me. I froze, flashlight shaking in my hand. My heart slammed against my ribs, like it wanted to escape my chest. No, not again. Not after 20 years. I swallowed hard and tried to ground myself in logic, hallucination, stress, grief. But deep down, I knew it wasn't my mind. It was the house, and it remembered me. Every step inside that place pulled me deeper into childhood memories I had tried to bury. My mother's scream, the thud at the bottom of the basement stairs, the way her room remained closed for weeks after, the whispers that began after she died, drifting through the walls like trapped voices. As a kid, I'd hear them at night, calling my name from the vents, the closet, the attic, the basement. My father told me it was grief, stress, nightmares. But the voices didn't disappear as I grew older. They only grew clearer, closer, closer. I see you. I left home at 17 and never looked back. But now I was here again, walking down the same hallways that once made me sleep with the covers up to my chin. The lights didn't work, of course. The wiring had probably rotted away years ago, so I relied on my flashlight. Its thin beam carved trembling paths through the darkness. Every few steps, the walls creaked. Not random, natural creaks, rhythmic, almost responsive. As I reached the living room, the sound changed. Scratch. Inside the walls. I held my breath, listening. Scratch. Slower. Longer. Like fingernails dragging across wood. Rats, I whispered to myself. Just rats. But then the scratching became deeper. Harder. Like claws. Or fingers. A bulge formed on the wallpaper, as if something was pushing from behind, trying to break through. "You grew up," the whisper hissed, "but you taste the same." I stumbled back, nearly dropping my flashlight. No, 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 no. I wasn't staying here. Documents or no documents. But before I turned to leave, something else echoed through the house, a soft, feminine whisper. "Baby." For a second, my heart stopped. My mother's voice, or at least, what used to be her voice. I knew it wasn't her. I'd heard that imitation too many times as a child. Still, my feet moved toward the source down the hallway, toward the basement door. The same door my mother had fallen through. The same door that hid the darkness I'd spent a lifetime running from. My hand trembled as I touched the knob. It turned on its own. Cold air rushed out. The smell of damp earth and something dead wafted upward. The basement was pure black, not dark black, like light itself was afraid to go down there. "Don't," I whispered to myself, but the house had already decided. A sound drifted up the stairs, slow, dragging footsteps. Except they weren't footsteps. They were hands, crawling. My flashlight flickered wildly. The beam shook as I pointed it down. The blackness seemed to swallow the light. Then, something cold wrapped around my ankle. I screamed and kicked, legs slamming against the staircase. Whatever held me had skin like ice and strength that didn't belong to anything human. "Let go." I clawed at the steps, pulling myself upward. At last, the grip loosened, and I scrambled out, slamming the basement door shut. My body shook uncontrollably. Every breath tasted like metal. My heart pounded so loudly, it drowned out everything else. I needed to get out, but before I reached the front door, something pulled me toward another memory, another wound left open. My mother's bedroom. The door stood slightly ajar, as if waiting. The room was exactly how I remembered it. Her perfume bottle on the dresser, her scarves hanging on the wall. The old mirror she always used now cracked down the center. I stepped inside, despite every instinct telling me to run. "Mom, I'm sorry," I whispered. I don't know why. Maybe because grief never really ends. Maybe because some apologies come decades too late. In the mirror behind me, a shadow began to form. Tall, wrong, twisted. It raised a hand long, sharp fingers scraping against the glass. But when I turned around, nothing was there. Only the mirror showed the truth. She never left. It rasped. "We share this house, and now we share you." The mirror cracked again, this time in a perfect circle. And then it exploded. Shards burst outward, slicing into my arms as a dark, contorted figure lunged out, grabbing my throat. Its grip tightened. Cold, powerful, ancient. "You should have never left," it growled. "I tasted you once. I want the rest." I choked, vision blurring. My legs buckled. Then, another hand appeared over the creatures. Smaller, gentler, almost human. A whisper floated through the chaos. "Run, baby, run." My mother. Not the imitation, her. The creature shrieked, releasing me. I fell to the floor, coughing violently. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I ran. Down the hallway, as walls bulged and hands tore through the wallpaper, grabbing at my clothes, my hair, my skin. Whispers flooded my ears, hundreds of them. "Stay. Stay with us. Don't leave. We're hungry. You're ours." I reached the front door and pulled locked. I shoved harder, nothing. I screamed and slammed my fists against it. And then it flew open with a violent gust of wind. I stumbled into the rain, gasping as cold air hit my lungs. My legs nearly gave out on the wet dirt. Behind me, the house stood silent, still, watching. I didn't stop running until I reached the car. My hands shook as I turned the keys. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. I drove without looking back. I survived, but survival is not the same as freedom. A week later, in my new apartment, I finally allowed myself to breathe. City noise replaced creaking floors. Bright lights replaced suffocating darkness. For the first time in years, I felt safe, until I heard it. A faint scratching. Inside my bedroom wall, I froze. The scratching grew louder, deeper, more deliberate. Then came the whisper, soft, familiar, poisonous. Found you. Missed you. Let me in. My mirror cracked in the same perfect circle. My breath caught in my throat. I escaped the house, but the house didn't escape me. The walls whispered again, my name this time. And I knew it wasn't finished. It was only getting closer. If you want, I can now write. Thanks, friends. Now please share, like, comment, and subscribe my channel. Please share my videos if I'm very thankful. If you have any horror story, please send me. I will narrate you story. TH Case, friends.